Hi, my name is Serge and I'll be showing you how to make my favorite soup, Solyanka. Origins of this soup are in late 18th century Russia, where it started out as a cabbage meat stew and really developed into a soup in mid-19th century. Now, it's often said that the soup is first mentioned in the 1533 Russian book Domostroy. Now, I have this book here, and besides the kind of ridiculous titles of chapters, such as how to raise and save your children using fear, and various chapters on how to train your servants. This book is kind of amazing in all the food that it shows from 16th century Russia. And as you can imagine, from a place that has long winters, there's a lot of pickled foods, a lot of salted meats, various canned and preserved, I should say, vegetables. So you can really see Solyanka coming from a couple hundred years away. Of course, the root of the word sol means salt, although for a little while it was Selyanka, so selo is a settlement. But I'm gonna go with the version that it's Solyanka because there's so much pickled ingredients in this. Okay, I'm about to show you how to cook it and explain why it's so delicious. So I'm gonna start with a little bacon. Put this pot on about medium-high heat. And if you don't eat pork, I highly recommend using duck fat for the stage. So I'm gonna fry this for about 5-10 minutes until the bacon gets nice and crispy. Okay, now it's been about 7.5 minutes. This bacon's getting crispy, and you see all this fat it released, which we want for the time being. Because we're going to use it to sear the beef cubes here. Now about a cup and a half. Little Maillard reaction going here. That's the sear you get on your steak and on your fried dumplings. That adds to the flavor and of course gives it the delicious texture. So we're just searing this for about a minute and a half, and then we'll take it out. Now we're going to want to take all but about a tablespoon of this oil out of the pan and dispose of it. And we're going to use that to fry our carrots and onions. Now we're going to fry this for about 5 minutes, and at which point we'll add in tomato paste and brown sugar, fry it for another 5 minutes. So this is the continuation of the kind of what I like to think is the fry phase of the soup making. Fry phase, we'll have the stew phase, soup compilation phase, and the serving phase. All right, it's nearing about 5 minutes. I like the look of the onions and the carrots here. I'm gonna add in the next two ingredients, which is brown sugar. It's about maybe a little more than a tablespoon, and the tomato paste. I have about 3 ounces of tomato paste here. And it's very important to fry it. It really transforms the flavor, from this kind of raw tomato flavor to something much better. And you can feel free, I've done an experiment, and try the fried and unfried. That's quite a big difference. So we're gonna fry this for about another 5 minutes. And you wanna try to spread it out, the sugar and the tomato paste, and so it gets nice and fried. This is nice and fried. And now we're gonna move on to the stew phase. And add about a cup of pickle juice. Now the pickle juice and about 2 tablespoons of whiskey. Now the pickle juice, pickles and sauerkraut in this are interchangeable. Some people swear by the sauerkraut. I like the pickles a little better. Today I have both. So what I put in was mostly pickle juice. But I have about 6 baby dill pickles. Some people like to skin them. I think that's not necessary unless you have, large kind of homemade pickles with tougher skin, and about, 200 grams, maybe, probably less, of sauerkraut. I'll put that in there to stew. We're gonna put in, the soup needs heat, so you can really put in just, maybe a heaping 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. That'll do the trick. You can always add more, you don't want to overdo it to begin with. In this case, I finally chopped up some Tabasco peppers. Whoop. So that'll stew. And our last stew ingredient is a tablespoon of paprika. And that is to kind of accentuate the smoky flavor we have. I know it seems like a lot, and it is. But yeah, the paprika is one of these ingredients that is common to all the recipes. Like, pickles or sauerkraut is common to all the recipes for Solyanka. I guess one thing I'll note is just be conscious of the salt in the ingredients you're adding. I've made the soup maybe a couple dozen times, and I notice that the salt content really varies. One time, I add ingredients, take away ingredients, substitute things, really accentuate some ingredients. And one time I added a bunch of pepperoni, and that just made it so salty. So since then I've been way more conscious. Like I said, in regard to the hot pepper, you can always put in more salt. With pickles, I went to start looking at the labels, and some have 3 times the amount of sodium than others. Started using low sodium beef broth. And of course, when we get to the olives, you want to use you don't want to use any crazy flavored super salted olives. I'll talk about olives later, but for now, let me talk just a smidge more about what I just added, which includes whiskey. So I recently learned about kind of adding a lot of cooking with alcohol, basically, and you get a little bit of the essence of the alcohol, but also it bonds with fat soluble as well as water soluble molecules. So it helps basically meld the flavors of what you're making together, but also it evaporates at a faster, lower temperature, higher rate than water. So it really improves the aroma, which in turn improves the taste. So I'm definitely buying into the cooking with alcohol. All right, so we're gonna stew this for about 7 minutes. And the last ingredient I'm adding here is some fire roasted tomatoes, just about a cup. This is not a crucial ingredient. It's one, like the Tabasco peppers, that you can substitute or leave out altogether. I found I like it. So we're having a nice stew here that we will soon make into a soup. All right, now we're gonna move on to the soup phase. Well, before that, I'll just add that the purpose of the stew phase is to kind of soften these ingredients and really let them mix with each other. All right, now to the kind of soup integration phase, adding 64 ounces of beef broth. Another critical ingredient, capers. All the recipes, this is something you do need to add. 2 tablespoons, feel free to add, with the caper juice. Here we have some We have a tablespoon of allspice. To me, this kind of makes Russian flavor, Russian soup flavor. We have a tablespoon of coarsely ground pepper and 3 bay leaves. So if you don't know, bay leaves kind of give a mint, spearmint flavor, and they basically lighten heavy soups, which the soup benefits from. Then we will add some olives. The ton of olives, annoyingly Russian recipes will tell you to use, green and or black. As you might have guessed, this soup varies in ingredients. People, make it with fish, with pickled mushrooms, with all kinds of different meats, and probably all kinds of olives. But I think the best kind of olives to use is the manzanilla olives. That's the same kind used in a martini. And that's for the green ones. And for the black, I just really love the way they look in the soup. So I'm just gonna use some standard American mission olives. Not to insult anyone, but I feel like they kind of have not a lot of taste. These are the kind of olives you get in your nachos, but they look great in the soup. Add some of these. Cabbage, another optional ingredient. I happen to have a quarter cabbage in my refrigerator. Goes great in the soup. Standard to Russian soups. A lot of Russian soups. Basically, we're adding in a lot of just what's left to kind of cook it. This is some cut up sausages. This is a mild Italian sausage that I decased and made into little balls. Bratwurst works great. Any sort of smoked cured sausages were great. Feel free to experiment with that kind of stuff. A little bit of ham and a touch of pepperoni. I keep the pepperoni even though I had a bad experience at one time. This is, maybe 6 pizza pepperonis. That's all it is. And I love it for the color because Solyanka should have an orange color and pepperoni kind of gives that to you. Our bacon is crispy. And we will chop it up. Like I said, it really kind of gives an invaluable smoky flavor in my opinion. Scoop all that in. And I'm gonna put back our meat that we seared earlier. And then I like to add a splash of liquid smoke. This is also another ingredient that's not necessary. I think it adds to the soup. Some people don't like the flavor. I think it's great. All right, starting to look good. I'll turn up the heat here. So once all the ingredients are in, really you can kind of start to bring it to a boil. You can really smell, this has it all. Fat, acid, heat, salt. Brought it to a boil. Now we're gonna turn it stir and put it on simmer for about 40 minutes. Some people like to cook it for a lot less. Some people talk about adding olives, at the very end. I don't like that. I don't like having them crispy. I like flavors to mix a bit more. So we'll be back in 40 minutes. Okay, it's been 40 minutes. Oh yeah, that's how Solyanka should look. That is beautiful. Wow, all right. Now, to properly serve it, I'm gonna squeeze a little lemon juice in there. Add a little lemon slice. Add a nice scoop of sour cream. For my money, I'm gonna put a little bit of greenery. You know, I got dill, parsley, green onion. You can use any of them. Right on the sour cream. Make it look beautiful. And add a little extra layer of flavor. Just look at that. It's exactly how it should look. Oof. Hot plate here. Serve it with some black bread. Mix around the sour cream. Oof. Each bite can be a really nice variety, different from the other bites. Hot. Ooh. The nice thing too about the soup is a lot of ingredients you may already have around your house. You know, you go get maybe some capers, some olives, make the soup, and it turns out amazing. You fly through it, and then you have enough of everything basically to make another batch. Thanks for watching. I have a bunch more testing to do with borscht, and I think that'll be the next one. Thanks.